The Castaway by William Cooper. I should explain one detail, which is that Cooper based this poem on an episode he read in a book called A Voyage Round the World by George Anson, and he mentions Anson's name towards the end of the poem. Obscurest night involved the sky, the Atlantic billows roared, when such a destined wretch as I washed headlong from on board, of friends, of hope, of all bereft, his floating home for ever left. No braver chief could Albion boast than he with whom he went, nor ever ship left Albion's coast with warmer wishes sent. He loved them both, but both in vain, nor him beheld, nor her again. Not long beneath the whelming brine, expert to swim, he lay, nor soon he felt his strength decline, or courage die away, but waged with death a lasting strife, supported by despair of life. He shouted, nor his friends had failed to check the vessel's course, but so the furious blast prevailed, that pitiless perforce they left their outcast mate behind, and scudded still before the wind. Some succour yet they could afford, and such as storms allow, the cask, the coop, the floated cord, delayed not to bestow. But he, they knew, nor ship nor shore, whate'er they gave, should visit more. Nor, cruel as it seemed, could he their haste himself condemn, aware that flight in such a sea alone could rescue them. Yet bitter felt it still to die, deserted, and his friends so nigh. He long survives who lives an hour in ocean self-upheld, and so long he, with unspent power, his destiny repelled, and ever as the minutes flew, entreated help or cried adieu. At length his transient respite past, his comrades who before had heard his voice in every blast, could catch the sound no more. For then, by toil subdued, he drank the stifling wave, and then he sank. No poet wept him, but the page of narrative sincere that tells his name, his worth, his age, is wet with Anson's tear, and tears by bards or heroes shed alike immortalize the dead. I, therefore, purpose not, or dream, descanting on his fate, to give the melancholy theme a more enduring date. But misery still delights to trace its semblance in another's case. No voice divine the storm allayed, no light propitious shone, when snatched from all effectual aid, we perished, each alone. But I beneath a rougher sea, and whelmed in deeper gulfs than he.
Seamus, it's a wonderful poem. Why did you choose it?
It's a wonderful poem. It's a poem of tremendous bleakness, of course. I'm always moved by the tremendous way in which Cooper singles out this wretched man as an image for his own plight, his own deep spiritual unhappiness.
Tell us a little bit about Cooper, just to put us in the picture.
Cooper is one of the most successful of the later 18th century poets, and a man, as far as one can tell, of simple goodness, a man of great gentleness of heart, who, for some inexplicable reason, convinced himself that he was damned, that he got the rough end of Calvinism because he believed in the elect but thought he wasn't one of them, and was going to go to hell whatever he did. And in a way, that if we wanted to pin it down, that's the spiritual condition that he's talking about in this poem. You don't need to know all those details for the poem to work. It's obviously a poem about a person who feels himself completely isolated and doomed, and sees an image of his own fate in the fate of this wretched sailor. The brilliance of the poem, the surprising, startling brilliance of the poem, comes in the last verse, however, when Cooper startles us in this very striking way by claiming that although his own perishing is as it were an analogy of the sailors perishing. His own is the worst deal. So we get that striking last couplet, but I beneath a rougher sea and whelmed in deeper gulfs than he. So the whole parallel that the poem has explored between Cooper's unhappiness and the wretchedness of the sailor suddenly overturned, and we realise that Cooper's lot is much worse, which is the last thing that you're expecting the poem to do. And yet the pity for the sailor's situation has been so brilliantly, eloquently, and movingly conveyed that we don't feel that Cooper's kind of pulling rank and sort of outdoing the sailor in unhappiness. It's a kind of realization that sort of sneaks upon the poem, as it were, as Cooper casts his eyes into his own heart at the last moment.
We don't expect it.
We don't expect it at all.